Or I would have this one chair in my room where I would have just this pile of clothes and I would constantly wear those, and I wouldn't even open my wardrobe to actually wear all the clothes that I had in there. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. And in case you are new here, welcome. My name is Ankita. I live in Mumbai and I make videos about beauty and wellness. So I've been exploring more personal subjects during this quarantine period, and you guys have been loving these videos. Thank you so much for the amazing response to all the different videos I have posted in the last 2 weeks. I posted my apartment tour, then I posted a video about living alone, and my most recent video was about body confidence and body positivity. And today's video is about decluttering and how I decluttered my life. I know that sounds really dramatic, but I was someone who used to have a lot of stuff, like a lot of things, and I wanted to be more organized, I wanted to be neater, but I didn't know how. So my habits, what shaped me from childhood, was how I was raised and how I saw people in my family maintaining things. And discarding things, decluttering, or getting rid of anything was just not a concept I was exposed to as a child. So I had grown up with seeing like polythene bags being stored, and newspapers being hoarded, and even if you order food from outside, the plastic container it came in was washed and kept, and the spoons were kept as well. So I never uh, knew about this concept of living with fewer things or getting rid of things that no longer serve a purpose. So my sort of tendency was also to hoard everything. And even though I moved a lot during my 20s, I lived in a lot of different houses and different countries. So that helped with a bit of decluttering, because I just could not afford to have so many things and be moving so much. But despite that, I still managed to have a lot of possessions. And at one point, I just felt like I felt so overwhelmed with how many clothes I had. I felt overwhelmed with how much beauty products I had. And with the beauty products, it was difficult to sort of keep a small inventory, because this is my job. So I get sent a lot of products from brands. So the PR packages were sort of piling up, and I had corners in my house which were not visible, like you could not see the floor because they were covered with packages. And I would sort of stack the packages neatly. It wasn't like completely disorganized, but you couldn't access those things. For months I would go without actually opening some drawers or without accessing some corners of my rooms. And I would always be sort of slightly embarrassed to show like any part of my house too publicly, because I knew deep down this was not a nice way to live, having so many things. I think my hoarding was at an all-time high when I was living by myself in a 3 BHK apartment, and this was after I got divorced. So I was dealing with a lot of emotional trauma at that point. I was also sort of coming out of a really long period of depression. So shopping and sort of collecting things became, in a way, an escape and a way to sort of soothe my emotional problems in a way. Also, because I had so much space, I was living by myself in a pretty large apartment, I was able to just like store all these things, and online shopping did become sort of like a very common thing that I would do, often late at night. This is also a point where I was beginning to earn more. So I was earning more than I needed. So all that extra disposable income that I did not need for my basic expenses would go into sort of buying things. And it wasn't like I was buying very expensive things. They were just like normal things, but I was just buying quite a lot of it. This is also the time where I was sort of beginning to feel a bit more confident in my body and wanting to experiment a little more with different different styles. So a lot of clothes shopping was happening during this time. And for the beauty products, of course, I had so many PR packages coming up that it was impossible to sort of maintain a really small collection of products. And being a beauty blogger, you also sort of want to keep a lot of different shades of things, because you're like, oh, I might want to do a look with yellow eyeshadow one day, so let's keep this. I might want to do a video about best budget moisturizer, so let's keep all of this, even though I'm not using all of these things personally. I was also buying just a lot of things for the kitchen, because I had a fairly big kitchen and I like cooking and I like experimenting with new cuisines. So I would end up sort of ordering or buying just things, just a lot of ingredients which I wouldn't end up actually using, and they would just go bad, which would make me feel really terrible. And only when I was decluttering that I realized that I was also holding on to just so many items of nostalgia. I had things, a lot of things from college, a lot of clothes, especially because I would always think like, oh, I'm going to lose weight and then I'm going to fit into all these clothes again. So I had a lot of sort of nostalgia items as well. I'm not sure if everyone has a deep underlying reason for why they are shopping a lot or why they are accumulating things, but for me it definitely was. It was, like I said, a way to sort of cope with emotional problems. It was also an escape when you're feeling bored, and it was just that instant sort of dopamine hit of buying something, placing an order, and then sort of waiting for the package to arrive. So this is how I ended up accumulating a lot of things in my 3-bedroom apartment. So I had started decluttering before I moved into my present apartment, which is a 1 BHK. I'd started decluttering because I felt really overwhelmed by just how much I had, and I was constantly in that scenario where I couldn't find things to wear, or I would have this one chair in my room where I would have just this pile of clothes and I would constantly wear those, and I wouldn't even open my wardrobe to actually wear all the clothes that I had in there. So I felt deeply overwhelmed. This was also a time I found Marie Kondo, and you might have heard of her. She's extremely popular. She's the one who's sort of driven the entire decluttering phenomenon, which is like pretty global now. You see videos about decluttering and minimalism everywhere on the internet. So that's when I discovered her, and it wasn't her book that I discovered first, it was actually the show. So I watched the entire show, then I read the book, and it finally gave me sort of like a process on how I could do this. So that's when I started decluttering, and from then to now, I think it's been more than a year definitely, but I feel like I'm in a really good place now. I don't feel overwhelmed by what I have, and even when I want to further reduce my possessions, it's much easier because the starting sample set is not that huge. When I started, I think I started with beauty first, because my beauty room, my office, you could say, in my previous apartment was completely just like there's things everywhere. I couldn't work in there, I couldn't go in there, I didn't like to go in there because it was just like filled with boxes and PR packages and just too many things, and I could never find what I was looking for. So if one day I wanted to sort of wear a particular lipstick, I was pretty sure I was not going to find it. So that was like a really strong motivation for me to clear out that room. It took a couple of days. I'm going to share a few pictures of what it looked like. So I started by just taking everything out of their places wherever they were. But before I could do that, I actually had to clear up all those boxes that were sitting on the floor. So that was my first step. It was hard to part with things in the beginning, but I will say the more I did it, the easier it became. So at first I couldn't throw away PR packages because brands kind of send things in beautiful packages. Most often they are cardboard, but it's waste at the end of the day unless you're able to repurpose it and use it in, like, for storing something or upcycle it in some way. It's basically waste that is just sitting and occupying space. So I started by sort of getting rid of all these PR boxes, which also sort of made my space look so much neater, because PR boxes would be in different shapes, sizes, colors, and that sort of mishmash would just be so not ordered and neat and organized when I looked at it. So once I was able to get rid of all those things, clear up floor space, that I could actually then do the process of taking out things from my storage drawers and everything. I took everything out, started sorting through things by category, and at this point everything was like a big mix. So I had like moisturizers, foundations, few eyeshadows, like everything was mixed up, even though I had tried to maintain some order, but I was never able to sort of sustain a system of organization. So took everything out, sorted things by category, then went through each category. Okay, let's look at all the moisturizers, which are the ones that I really like, that I want to use. So I did this one round of decluttering, and since then I have done several of these rounds of decluttering, and finally now I feel like it's a very manageable collection. It is still quite large because after all this is my job, so this is not like an average person's makeup collection, but it is still quite manageable for me, and I'm able to find anything that I'm looking for, which was what my objective was to start with. The second thing I tackled was clothes. I don't do fashion at all, but I still had a lot of clothes. So many that they weren't just in my bedroom, but also in the spare room in my apartment. I'm going to share some pictures of my spare room, and I am embarrassed when I look at this. But I also think, like, how your outer life is quite a reflection of your inner life. If you're someone who is holding on to things, who is feeling a bit stuck in life, who is sort of grasping at external things to make yourself feel better, it definitely reflects in your space and how you live. So for me, I think that was a period where I was sort of going through a lot of like emotional things, and that's why when I look at that room, my spare room, which really didn't have any use except just become a dumping ground for things, I can see why that was happening, because that's where my mindset was. All the cleaning up, organizing, and decluttering I've done, I think I'm most proud of that particular room, because it was so terrible to start with. Because it was not a functional room, there was no semblance of order in that room. It was entirely like a dumping ground for things. So decluttering that room, I remember it took me 2 full days, and after that I just felt so lightheaded. It was just like a weight had been lifted off of my shoulders. So that's what decluttering and organizing your life can do for you, even though it is just objects and things and physical space that you are working on. So there are so many things that we hold on to based on their potential, not on their present use. So there were so many clothes that did not fit me well. I've had so many weight fluctuations. So I had a wardrobe ranging from sizes small to extra large and I just made that decision to get rid of everything that was like size small. I may have been a size small once, but I thought to myself, even if I do go back to that size, I can always buy new clothes. These things are anyway not in style anymore, and nothing was particularly expensive. These were all just like fast fashion brands. So I was able to get rid of a lot of things. All these clothes from college, from the time when I used to live in Japan, I got rid of everything. And again, it took time. I couldn't get rid of everything in the first round of decluttering. My final goal with the clothes was, I own this one wardrobe and this chest of drawers, and I thought to myself, everything I own should fit in these storage units. If there's anything excess, I need to do another round of decluttering so I can bring my collection down to a size which fits in my wardrobe. That was my aim. I did not want to be continuously buying new wardrobes or new chest of drawers to fit my growing collection. And I also started doing this thing where if I bought anything new, something else had to go. And also, I'm now at a stage where I buy something that I really need. Like, I bought a few white tops recently because I did not have a lot of white in my wardrobe, and it's summer, I like white, so I could see that gap in my wardrobe where I could do with a few white outfits, so that's why I bought this. So I got rid of all old clothes that did not fit. I got rid of also clothes that were unflattering. So I tried on just so many clothes, and if I felt like I did not want to step out wearing this because it was unflattering, it went in the reject pile. I did have a small maybe pile. Now, there are things that you are not sure of whether you want to get rid of or not, so I would have a small maybe pile, and I would keep all these things together in one particular section of my wardrobe, and maybe 2 weeks later or a month later I would revisit this section, and then I would think again of whether I wanted to keep them or not keep them. Now, there was still this category of clothes that fit me. They were flattering, they were not unflattering, but I still hadn't worn them in 6 months, or for some of them more than a year. So everything that I hadn't touched in 6 months, I got rid of. So this way, after several rounds of decluttering, I was able to bring down my clothes to a really small, manageable collection. But now everything I own, I really enjoy wearing it. I wear it often, and that's exactly where I want it to be. Now, when it came to the kitchen, I also had hoarded a lot of random stuff in the kitchen. My kitchen was also where I used to keep like a lot of my items for the dogs. So I had so many things like old toys, chew sticks, treats, dry food that I had bought, but the dogs did not like it, so I gave away all of that instead of just like keeping it over there. I also had so much of this lighting equipment from the last few years which I wasn't using. At this point, I only work with one light. So all this extra photography stuff which I wasn't using, I also donated it away because this was also taking up so much space in my spare room. I also had so much extra bedding, extra pillows which I would never end up using, blankets. No one needs blankets in Mumbai. You don't need warm blankets. So many extra bed sheets, and I got rid of all of that. And I know, like, putting it this way kind of makes it sound really quick and easy, but this is a process. This is something that takes a while, and because I did not do it like consecutive days, I would do like maybe 1 or 2 days a week, or one particular weekend I would decide to sort of declutter a particular section of my apartment. It did take time, but it was just such an emotional release for me. I could instantly see the benefit of clearing out, one part of my space. I would instantly feel just so much better, so much more clear-headed, that I truly feel like it has changed my life. And while I was decluttering, I felt like I became really good at asking myself this question: do I really need this? Because, like I said in the beginning, it's really hard to part with things because you might have memories associated. You might think, oh, I spent money on it. If it's not broken, how can I just throw it away? And that's why donating things has been such a nice experience for me, because I know I'm not just throwing it in the garbage. I'm giving it to someone who's going to value it, who's going to use it. So it's not really a waste of money for me. Ask yourself that question when you are going through this process. Ask yourself, do I really need this? Could I live without it? Like, even after several rounds of decluttering, I had, I think, 6 pairs of jeans, and I would wear that one pair of jeans that fit really well, that was flattering and comfortable. And one day I just thought to myself, do I need 6 pairs of jeans? I mean, they look similar unless they are a completely different style. There's no point in having so many. Earlier this year, I worked with Karishma from My Sorted Home. You might have seen my office makeover video. So she is a professional organizer. So she helped me organize my office space. And I have to say, even with my own personal journey of decluttering and everything, working with a professional has just made my space so much more organized. And it's been more than 3 months now, and I haven't sort of lost sense of that order. Like, things are still in really good shape, and I'm able to find everything I need. Like, I wanted to use this particular highlighter today and I was able to find it. You could consider working with a professional organizer, because even if you think like you're really good at it, a professional always brings something new to the table that you may not know of. How has decluttering changed my life? So apart from all the benefits I spoke about earlier, like, I just feel lighter owning fewer things. I feel like I have sort of a more mental peace, because when you own a lot of things, you have to maintain a lot of things, so it takes up time, it takes up mental energy, and this is time and energy that I don't have. So maintaining my possessions has become easier, less time consuming, and when I look at my space and everything is nicely organized, I always feel quite organized in my mind as well, because when you look at a big pile of clutter, you can't really feel organized and ordered in your head. It's also changed my habits, my shopping habits, in a significant way. I don't shop when I'm bored. I don't shop because I'm trying to get some kind of emotional release. I shop when I need something. I shop when I really, really want something, and when I have wanted something for a long time. So I don't really do a lot of impulse buying anymore, because I'm always thinking, okay, where am I going to keep this? So when I'm in the shop or when I'm doing online shopping, I do lesser online shopping too, by the way. I always think of, okay, where is this going to go? Do I have space to keep this? Is it going to disrupt my current system of organization? So my shopping habits have changed so much, and a direct consequence of that is I spend less money. So I'm saving more money, which I can, repurpose for other better things in life. Also feel emotionally it's brought about this shift in me. I think I used to be someone who used to hold on to a lot of emotional baggage, but I feel now I don't. I'm able to let go of any unwanted emotion quite easily. That's not to say that like I'm never like disturbed or angry or upset. I am, but I'm able to sort of get out of that mindset quite easily, compared to how I used to be earlier. And you learn to do that by practicing that over and over and over. So decluttering my life, even though it is just decluttering your things, has changed me emotionally, has changed my habits, and it has changed my life for the better. I think the lockdown has affected different people differently. There are people who have a lot more time at their hands, but there are people who have to now manage a lot of household things as well as work, so they have lesser time. So in case you are fortunate that you have some extra time on your hands, just try doing some organizing, some decluttering, and start with what is easiest and what doesn't feel that scary. Start with the simplest thing, and once you've accomplished that, you're going to feel more confident and you can tackle the bigger task next. I'm not a minimalist. I do have a lot of things, but I'm at a stage where I have everything I want and I want everything I have. there's nothing unwanted, there's nothing that doesn't have a purpose in my space, and that makes me just so happy. I hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, please do give me feedback in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon in my next video. Bye.